Hello everyone, welcome back to again on my YouTube channels and on Facebook. To the front of you again I have sitting here taking a new topic from the book of 10th class, and that book name is here Pulse. Which topic about today I have to recount the beyond all of you. That topic name is here A Letter to God. That is very interesting story from the book of 10th class. A student who is reading 10th class, first of all I would like to tell to my all dear student, you must watch this video content, because in this video I am going to have some new kinds of the words, some new types of the sentences. I think the student who will listen throughout of this video concept, really those students will be understood exactly part of that whole content. And if you will understood exactly part of the all content, then really you will feel to very coordinates the back four, talking the back four, stating of any kinds of the matter with any warnings. Because nowadays I am looking mostly students are muddling the back four speaking. And why muddling point and ardling point, these all ardling or muddling, why that comes in all of us life? Out of that just I am going to tell. Whenever we start to talk of any kinds of the matter, at that moment we are unable to make to exactly what concern type. That's why our speaking does not have good, and we are not able to speak of any kinds of the matter exactly distinctly by the topic name. I am telling of you, if you are wanting to talk of any kinds of the matter to very badly, you will have to use exactly those kinds of the word which is in your mind. But sometimes also I see mostly student, whenever they start to speak of any kinds of the matter, at that moment they fears to taking of any word pronunciation. If any kinds of the new words that is come in the mind of any of the student or any of the persons, at that moment they start to think of that how to take pronunciation of these kinds of the word. Like this may also start to comes in all of us mind. I am telling of you, you will not have to think such kinds of the matters. You will not have to think of any deduct matter. If any word pronunciation you do not know, then at first you search of that word pronunciation also through the help of Google, but also from what terminology you search of that word pronunciation. After searching of that, you try to speak. If you are muddling to taking the pronunciation of that word, then you repeat again, you cram sometime. If you cram sometime, automatically that all word pronunciation will be improved by you, and that will be spoken by you very well. But you will have to assimilate, some point. If you assimilate some points, then really that will help of you for improving, whether for rectifying, whether reforming of your English. What is that? Whenever you sleep, whenever you walk, whenever you live exactly in peace mind, whenever no anybody comes to you for talking, by the for doing of any activity, at that moment exactly you start to contemplate about of any kinds of the matter. You start to just ponder about of some different kinds of the topic inside of the mind. If you start to think about of any kinds of the topics exactly with minds and exactly with heart, then sure I am telling of you all those kinds of the matter that will be rectified by you very well. And if you will not think, if you will not meditate about of anything, and if you want to speak suddenly with any persons, then that will not be spoken by you very well. If you are wanting to speak of anything instantly, then you will have to meditate, and you will have to live also in exactly concentrated mind. You do not live in exactly in pale mind. If you live exactly in pale mind, you will not be able to talk very well. You do not haggle the back for using of any words. If you will haggle for utilizing of any kinds of the words, utilizing of any things, then really you will not be able to muster of your courage. I am telling of you, please you muster of or patience, and you evolve of your words power, you evolve of your sentences, you evolve of your thinking. If or thinking power that will be evolved, I am just saying to you, you will be able to talk to very well. And also one thing more there is need for carrying however the back for speaking. And what is that? Just I am going to have here. When you use of any kinds of the word, and that words you have never used in the previous time, then I am telling of you, please at first you evoke of that word, means you make phrase of that word pronunciation. You speak sometime, after that you try to utilize the back for speaking. Okay, the front of anyone you try to utilize in speaking. If you will utilize, then sure that word pronunciation also that will be made easy by you. You have not need to think also about ponderous topics, ponderous words, which is very tedious. understanding, you will have to use exactly simple and extraordinary points you will have to have. If you use exactly singular words, singular points, really that will be very effective, that will be very impressive, and that will be very dashing point. Whole time use toppingly, whole time you speak toppingly, dashingly, and you feel to yourself that I have good words, I have good sentences. Like this matter, you all people will have to think, and you assimilate some good point. If you will assimilate some good point, then really it will help of you for speaking. And if you will not use, if you will not ponder of any kinds of the matter, then your dimming will be like of tender. You will not be able to overcome from that kinds of the thing from which things you are wanting to get over. One night you will not be able to overwhelm. So which I have told of you at the beginning of this video, please you follow that already mentioned points, you follow that initial point. I hope you all students will follow well. And after following that, if you use, sure the success will run the back of you and you will become to very success. Now let me come on the point which topic about today I have to see over the beyond of you. That topic I'm just going to have to you. What is the topic here? A letter to God. That is very interesting story you are knowing already. And on the heading of this chapter it has written what? A letter to God. Means there is a letter to God. Means in this story who writes a letter about that just I am going to tell to you. In this story, there is a farmer and his name is Lento. He is very toiler or moiler. There are two types of word, or two types of the word which I have used here. What new means? He is toiler or moiler. Means he is very laborious farmer. Means he is working hard, understanding in his field, like of any ox. He is very laborious farmers and he lives on the lower top of hill where his home has situated. In that place there is not more any other home else except of Lencho home. Lencho is living with his wife and with his sons. Lencho says to us, means from that height, from that crest, he looks his planted crops, he looks his planted harvest, and always he promises good harvest and good end, because his whole fields are waterful fields. Means there is not need much of the water for planting his harvest. That's why Lencho is telling to all of us, only there was needed dawn for water for my harvest for planting. And Lencho, he is saying that always he was thinking, always he was promising to himself, where I am living, if no any person will help to me in any disaster, then the God can help to me. Because he was believing very much on God. He was faithing very much on God. And I'm just going to tell to you about this story. Lencho, from the morning times, today he has not done any work except for looking where in the sky. When Lencho saw today in the skyway, just he predicted, means just he conjectured, just he speculated, means today it will rain if the God willing. Then when he sees that kinds of the matter, just that kinds of the matter was heard by just his wife from the kitchens, and from the kitchens his wife is answering to Lencho, yes, if the God willing today, really it will rain today. Like that matter it was told by his wife from the kitchens when Lencho says such kinds of the matter in his courtyard, in his patio. At that moment also that same kinds of the matter it was repeated by his wife. And When he predicted these kinds of the matter, after some times it started to rain. When it started to rain, then when he looked what big drops falling, when he looked big drops falling, at that time Lencho started to realize to himself that this big drops of rain, it is looking like of 10 rupee cent, and a smaller ones were looking like of 5 rupee cent. This kinds of the matter, it was thought by Lencho when it started to rain in all over the hillside, field side, that valley side. At that moment he was expressing such kinds of the matter. When it started to rain, he became to very happy, and his elder sons were working in the field and a smaller ones were playing here about the house. When it started to rain, Lencho felt very pleasure. Sometimes he thought that if like this, so downpour or shower, it will rain in all over the hillside, then it is best for me. Means it was paltry. It was raining like a shower. It was not raining like a heavy. But when it started to rain, then he felt nice, and he was thinking that to himself, means if like this it will rain continually till half hour, then nothing will be bad effect in my field, because recently, means also we can say that before some days he planted what corns plant, and that corns also that was repaired. And Lencho is telling this time, if this rain will be changed in heavy rain or in hailstone, then that my all repent corn will be destroyed. Like that matter, it was thought by Lencho in that place. But as he was thinking not to happen, like that happened, means he was thinking that it will not rain heavy, then it is good for me. But after 1 hour, just the rain changed into the hailstone. When the rain changed into the hailstone, Lencho started to feel to himself, today my all repent corn will be destroyed. If my all corn will be destroyed, then this year we all family will be died hunger. That kinds of the matter, it was realized by Lencho. But when it started to rain what hailstone, then he started to feel very bad. His heart started to sink down. He started to feel to very panic. He is thinking at that moment, what will happen if continually it will rain 1 hour above, then completely my repent corn will be destroyed. And it rained till 1 hour. But when it rained with hailstone in all over the hillside, the valley side and field side, then all over the place it was covered with hailstone. It was looking like of white salt. Means it was looking like covered with white salt. Means in all over the place, means in every plant there was fallen down, and that all plants had been covered by hailstone. There was not looking what soil, there was not looking stone, there was not looking what any kinds of the thing except looking white. When that rain and that hailstone was stopped, then Lencho, he is going in the middle of his field taking a mattock where his sons were working in that place. Just he stood up in the heads, means on the heads, means on the bulk, he is stood up, and from there he is looking of all those kinds of the harvest, and whatever things and whatever harvest, that all was destroyed. He is thinking to himself, my God, the God has not left any little bit crops for us. When he is going the near of the trees, then also he is looking that trees twigs, there was not remained any leaves in the twigs of that trees. When he is going in the place of that locust, also in that place he is looking as many insect it was there in that harvest, that all kinds of the grasshopper, that all kinds of the moth, insect, these all things had been fallen down, and that all had been died pattern. Looking these kinds of the bad situation, he felt very bad and he wished to God, "Hey God, you have not justified with me. Whatever things you have destroyed, I think that I am a human and I have done of any wrong kinds of the works, that outcomes you have given to me, but you tell to me these all insect or moth and grasshopper who was in this harvest, what have they destroyed of you? What have they done wrong? Why did you destroy them? You have not done good." Like this matter, it was told by Lencho, and Lencho just came in very depression, thinking this year really we all family will be died hunger. But in that place there was no more any other place, there was not more any others homes, that homes persons could help to him except of God. Means there was single hope, only one God. Means he was exactly believing on God and he was thinking himself that except God, no any person can help to me on this place, because there were no more any other home else except of Lencho home. Then who will help to him in this disaster time? In this bad situation time, who will come to help him? When he looked up that all those kinds of the thing, it was destroyed, then Lencho came back to homes at evening, and when at night time he slept, he could not sleep very well. He slept while thinking, what will happen to me? What will happen with my all family members in this year? What will we eat in this year? About of that matter, he kept on thinking and thinking of these kinds of the matter. He slept on. When it became next morning, Lencho just he is waken up in early morning, and after waking up, just he decided to write a letter to God, and that day it was Sunday. And which day it was then? That day it was Saturday. According to this story, now it is appearing here. When he woke up in the early morning, first of all, he became what? Fresh, and after being invigorated, just he took a pen and paper, and taking a pen and paper, just he sat for writing a letter to God, and he started to express some different kinds of the matters in that letter. He started to say, "Dear God, you are knowing already about of me. I am your devotee. I am believing very much. I am keeping very much reliance on you, and whatever things you have done with me, that you have not done good with me. Even if I am believing on you very much, if you will not help to me in this great circumstance time, then really I will think that there is no any God on this earth. Like this matter automatically will be thought by me." Lencho is telling in that letter, "Dear God, I am telling you, I am more faithful Lencho. You give me 100 paces. Means I have necessity of 100 paces. If you will give me 100 paces, from that money I can buy again new seeds, new crops, and from that we all family can live, and we all family will be saved. In this time, if you will not help to me, then really this year you all people will be tripled away. So you please don't triple away us. If you triple away us, then really we all family members will never worship. We will never worship, whether we will never path on you." That kinds of the matter it was written by Lencho in that letter, and after writing of that, just that letter is put into an envelope, and after putting of that, just he fixed of that envelope border. When he affixed that, after affixing just he is writing the address on the top of that envelope to God by Lencho. There was given the signature of Lencho. After writing of that address, just he picked up that letter in his hand, and he came out from his home for going to city and for mailing of that letter into the mailbox. When he reached in that local city, then he put of that letter into the mailbox. When he mailed of that letter into the mailbox, then again he came back to home. When he came back to home, then now I am going to tell about of that post office point. When Lencho came back to home, then after some times the postman went for taking out letter from that mailbox. As a stats, postman opened up that mailbox. He found some of the letter inside of that box, but all of them he found very similar letter. He found very unique letter, as he had never seen such kinds of the letter in his life. Who had not seen? Postman had never seen like that letter in his life. That's why for some time also he is abacked reading of that Lencho letter, which was mailed by Lencho, because on the top of that letter there was written to God by Lencho. When he read of that address, he felt to himself that means who is that doting person who has written a letter to God? Who is God's daughter? Who is God Lupi? Who is the maidkin of God? Like this matter, it was thought by that postman, who is the buff of God. He looked at that, and after looking that, he thought to himself that it is not my commitment to think about of this. Now this letter I will give in the hand of postmaster, and when the postmaster will say to me for giving of this letter in which hands, I will reach of that letter in that place and I will give them. Means who's about, it was told by postmaster for giving of that God letters, I will give them. So I have not need to think much about of it. And after taking of that letter in other hands, he went to postmaster and he gave of that letter in the hand of postmaster. When postmaster read of that what the address of that letter on the top of that envelope for the first time, and for some moments postmaster laughed very much to thinking this, who is that police person, who is that Lupi who has written a letter to God. Also he had never seen such kinds of the letter in his life. Understanding? Means he had never seen like this letter in his life for sending to God. He had sent many letters. He had dispatched like this many letters, but with any human, but he did not see like this letter in his life for sending of any God. That's why he laughed very loudly. For some time he laughed. After that, just the postmaster thought of that, which kinds of the points it has been written by that persons inside of this letter I should see after reading. After that, just he told that border of that envelope and he took out of that letter which was put by Lencho, and after taking of that letter in his hand, he started to read. When he read that and when he studied that, then he found in that letter, oh dear God, I have mandatory 100 paise in this time because you have destroyed of my all harvest. To making fall what? Harason or Habiran. On account of that, my completely harvest has been destroyed. Like that matter, it was jotted down by Lencho in that letter. When postmaster read of that points, then he came in very serious, and also in that letter it was written, if you will not help to me in this very harsh circumstance, then I will never believe on you. I will never believe on you. I will never worship you. It was given to very big challenge by Lencho to God. Postmaster started to realize to himself that what to do this time. If the God will not help, then really this person will never believe, because he is the daughter of God. For some time he thought, after thinking of that, again he thought, oh, who will care about this letter? After that, again he put up that letter inside of that same envelope, and he slided up that letter in the other border of that table. Day to day it was passing, but when it came following Sunday, Lencho, like every day, means like usually, he reached on the door of that post office, and Lencho is asking to postmaster, tell me, any of the letter has come throughout the God in your post office? But when postmaster saw the face of Lencho, he started to look for some time, and he started to think about of that Lencho, who is that person who is believing very much on God. When he said that any letter has come through the gods in your post office, then he looked the face of Lencho and he realized, oh my God, this person is very great believer. He is very great person who is fighting one God. After some time, just the postmaster is answering to Lencho, no any letter has come through of God in this post office. When Lencho heard that kinds of the matter, just he is upset, just he is depressed, and after being depressed, just he is turned in the way of his home road, and again he came back to home. Week to week, Lencho is reaching on the door of that post office, but he is not receiving of any kinds of the letter through of God, through of that post office. One day, when Lencho went on the door of that post office, and when he requested to post master, please you see there is any kinds of the letter on the top of our table which has been sent by God. Postmaster is telling, really I am telling of you, no any letter has come by God. When he heard that kinds of the matter, then again he is depressed. When he is depressed, then just postmaster looked through of that window holes, and he felt that, my God, I think when that person comes on the door of this post office, at that time he comes to taking a new hope, and when he hears, when he listens here, means no any letter has come through the God at that time, just he is made what unhappy, it is not good. So on the place of God, I should help, I should assist him, and he decided to give him what, some pieces. And when he said that no any letter has come, then again Lencho is gone back to home, and when he is come back to home, then just postmaster is telling to every employee, as many employee were working in that post office, just the postmaster is telling to everyone, I am telling you, my all dear employee, if you have possible to give some pieces, then you give for the help of Lencho in this disaster time, because he has requested to God. After that, all of the employees said to postmaster, okay, do it most, I will try to give. After that, postmaster gave himself half salary, means 50 paise he gave himself. I think how much was the salary of that postmaster, as there is indicating to all of us here, half salary of his month he gave, means 50 paise gave. I think his salary was 1 rupees, but half of half of them he gave, means 50 paise he gave himself, and 20 paise it was collected by every staff, means it was collected by every employee who was working in that post office. Total it was collected 70 paise, and after collecting of that 20 paise, just he packed of that money inside of that envelope, and on the top of that envelope again there is being written by that postmaster to Lencho by God, means there was the signature of God. Who? Signature of God means the postmaster signature of God. And when again following Sunday, when it became just Lencho is reached on the door of that post office, and again he is asking the same question to the postmaster, you tell me today, even today any of the letter has come through the God in your post office? Today the postmaster is telling to Lencho, yes, today one letter has come through the God. When Lencho heard that kinds of the matter which was spoken by that postmaster who was sitting inside of that post office chair, then just he said that okay, then you please give me that letter. Just postmaster is telling to postman, hello, you give up this letter in the hand of that Lencho. After that, just a postman picked up that letter and he handed in the hand of Lencho. When Lencho got of that, when Lencho received of that letters which was given by the God, means you can say that also by God, whether you can say also this letter has been given by postmaster. When he received of that letter, then just he sat on the same public sitting bench, means which bench was there inside of that post office for sitting of the public. In that bench he sitting and he tears the border of that envelope, and he's taking out money from that envelope and he started to count. When he counted, then he found only 70 paise. When he found 20 paise, then he started to think some different kinds of the matter. He started to think that I think the God can never make mistake. The God must have sent for me 100 paise. I think that 30 paise must have been taken out through of this post office employee, and he became very angry thinking this matter. Means he became very angry thinking this matter. He thought that the God can never make mistake. So again, just he is going the near of window, and just he is requesting to postmaster, please you give me one pen or paper. After that, just the postmaster is giving one pen and paper in the hand of Lencho, and Lencho taking of that pen and paper. Again he is sitting on that same table, and again he started to write a letter to God. And this letter was like of any complaint letter. Means this letter was like of any complaint types of letter. He started to complain in that letter. Dear God, whatever money you have sent for me, but 70 of them I have received, 30 paise I have not received. But 30 paise you will have to give me. Which money have remained, that money you will have to give to me, because that money I have most compulsory. If you will not give me of that 30 paise, then my all work that will not be completed well. And also he is telling that in that letter, which rested money you will send to me, that rested money you will not have to give to me by this post office employer or employee. You will have to give me that money hand to hand. Then I will be able to employ that money in any good employment. This kinds of the matter, it was written by Lencho, and finally also he is telling, you have not to send of that letter, that money through this post office employer, because this all post office employer are the bunch of crook. Means they all are dishonest person, they all are blighter, they are not good sort of the person who is living in this post office, because they do not understand of anyone's person's compel. What is my compel about of that? No any members of this post office are knowing. That's why I'm telling you, my dear God, that remain money you will have to give me what? How you will have to give me? Hand to hand. After writing of that, again he packed up that letter in an envelope, and after packing of that he just affixed, and after affixing he again mailed of that letter into the mailbox, and after mailing he is gone to home. But when Lencho was writing of that kinds of the letters, postmaster was looking of all those kinds of the thing through of that post office window, and when he mailed of that letter and when he went away, just postmaster is indicating of any postman, and he indicated of postmans, you go and you take out of that letter again which kinds of the matters have been written by Lencho. I will have to know that. After that, just postman went to the mailbox, and opening that he took out of that letter, and again he kept in the hand of postmaster. Postmaster read of that post office employee and employees complaints to God. There was written, which 30 paise have remained, that money you will have to give me hand to hand. You will not have to dispatch of that remained money through this post office employee, whether through this post office employer, because they do not understand, they do not apprehend of any one's person's compel. When he read of that kinds of the point in that letter, then he, and also in that last of that letter it was written, the all post office employers or employee are the bunch of crook. That's why you do not send me of that remained money through this post office. You give me hand to hand. When he read of that kinds of the matter, then postmaster really he felt some good or bad. Actually, also in that place there was not guilty of postmaster, and also there was not guilty of what God. Lencho is not knowing about this post office employee, means the members of this post office have helped to me, whether I have been helped by them. Also the post that Lencho was not knowing, and this time postmaster endeavored to save the faith of God from the heart of Lencho. That's why the postmaster did like these activities in this story. But this story is over there. I am telling you, my all dear student, as many kinds of the concept I have discussed about this story, you try to discuss among of the friends, among of the teacher. As much as you will discuss, or experience will be enhanced much. If you will not discuss, or experience is not to be what boosted, I am telling you, please you discuss, then you will get what great attainment in your life. If you are wanting to get exactly what accomplishment, then you will have to practice properly and regularly. If you practice regularly, sure, one day the success will come back to you, and that success will say to you, I have come to you. Today also means, also that day you will feel to yourself, right, means I have not lackness of any kinds of the thing in my life for talking in English, rather for talking more any other language else. Which language about you will prefer for talking, in that language there will not come any obstacle. There will not come any obstacle for having, rather for starting with anyone. This story I have over there, but now I am going to discuss some question and answer from this story. Take care in the first comprehension. Check, there has given. What did Lencho hope for? This sentence has given exactly in your past in definite tense. First of all, you all students have to understand here what the meaning of this sentence means, which kinds of the things it is being indicated by this sentence. What did Lencho hope for? Means one, for which kinds of the thing Lencho was hoping. Lencho hoped good harvest. Always he was promising good harvest, because every year he was getting good crops, and also in all over the hill or field or valley side, it was raining exactly well. And second question is here, why did Lencho say the raindrops were like new coin? The Lencho said that raindrops were like new coin because which drops of the rain it was falling. He was telling that these all of the raindrops are falling money. If these all rain drops it will fall in all over the field side, then my harvest will be planted well, and if my crop will be planted well, then after selling of that corn, that grains in the market, I will earn the money. Then whatever that rain drops it is falling, really these all are falling what coin, these all are falling what money. Next question is coming here, how did the rain change and what happened in Lencho's? The rain changed into heavy rains and hailstone, and what happened Lencho's field? Lencho's completely filled, had been tumbled down, had been destroyed. All those harvests had been bolixed. And in fourth numbers there is telling, how did Lencho feel after stopping the hailstone or rain? Lencho felt very bad after stopping the hailstone or heavy rain. He felt very sadness, thinking to himself that this year we all family will die hunger. But now I am going again on the second comprehension check in first question. Who or what did Lencho have faith in? Means on which did Lencho faith? On which thing Lencho was keeping faith? Lencho was keeping faith exactly one God. What did he do? What did he do then? He wrote a letter to God, and in that letter he demanded how many pages? 100 pages. Who read the letter? The letter was read by postmaster. What did the postmaster do then? This is your third question. What did the postmaster do then? Postmaster sent for Lencho 20 pages. Himself he gave 50 paise and 20 paise it was collected by every employee. Now I am going again in third stage, in third comprehension. What is telling to me in third comprehension? About of that, just I am going to recite the poem of you. And about of that recitation points, all of you will have to go to mug up. Okay, take care. What is the first question here? Was Lencho surprised? Did Lencho surprised to find a letter in it money? Why not? Means Lencho was surprised to finding a letter in it money. Lencho did not surprised find a letter in it money because Lencho was keeping faith one God, and Lencho was knowing already that I have written a letter to God, and which money I have received. Then except of God, who can give me? Means who gives money freely of any persons without labor? Who will give to money to a huge? That kinds of the matter it was thought by Lencho there. Next question there is coming. What made him angry? Means in which kinds of the things Lencho became angry? Well, in which kinds of the things made angry of Lencho? Lencho made angry to finding whether to receiving less 30 paise in 100. That 30 paise less made him angry. These all questions I have discussed here. My all dear student, I am telling you, if you have understood, if you have apprehended, if you have comprehended value of this all question answer, just I am going to tell to you. If you have liked, then please you like my channel, you subscribe and also share, and also you try to prove some kinds of the strategy about of title video content, as I have said of you about of this story content. In the same way also you try to imitate with each other in speaking. Okay, again I will visit in my next video. For till then, bye bye, thank you.